but I had an experience yesterday. I just have to share it here. It's just happened. So I was at, so my brother Brett, his name is Brett, Brett. He died in 2004. He was 39. And so I don't have any other siblings. I don't have, my father's passed away now, my mom. So it's just me. And I was at the dollar store yesterday and I still cry. I go in the dollar store. I used to buy my mom stuff there. So I start crying. I'm crying every day, walking into places. I don't care. But anyway, I'm at the dollar store very early and I was looking, they have the Easter stuff out and all the holiday stuff. And I was like, oh, I remember when me and Brett, my mom would get us the Easter basket. And I was just thinking, Brett, remember our childhood and all of this. And I was just so, and it was probably about 9 a.m. And then something told me now a couple of years ago, I got separated from my husband. So I've had a lot of traumatic things for the past 3 years that I've been working through. And when that was going on, I like to go to this grocery store, go to the Starbucks in there, grab these little egg bites and a coffee and sit in my car and have them and journal. I felt I needed to be cocooned in my car. I wanted to eat my breakfast in my car. I don't know. It's weird, but I just did that. And it was like $8 each time. I'm like, I don't need to be spending $8 a day on this. I have food at home. But I did it. So I haven't done it in a long time. But I was at the dollar store and the grocery store is just in that mall, it's strip mall area outside. And I said, go to Safeway and go in and get the Starbucks and the egg bite and eat it in your car. And I'm like telling myself, why would I do that? I've got all this food here. I don't need to do that. I don't have time. I'm meeting somebody in an hour for a meeting. No, you have to go there and get it and eat it in your car. And so I was like, okay, well, I went in there, I walked up to the counter and this nice looking, like all American looking guy who was like 18 was the barista, kind of like my brother type of guy,
Yeah.
and I look at his name tag and it said Brett, Brett, Brett. And so I knew, and my brother's done that many times. Asked him send me a sign, and I'll see his name on something. It's not a common name. It's not always spelled that way. And so I knew, and so that was just like a magical experience that happened. But anyway, I just thought I just had to interject.
No, that's so powerful. And it was interesting what you were saying about eating in your car because there's a few Instagram accounts that I follow. One woman in particular, her handle is Spilled Milk Mama, and it's her journey as a widow. And she said the same thing about needing to be in her car and
Oh my
cocoon,
God.
and she'll eat in her car. So when you were saying that, you know, and it's so powerful to have those moments where you're like, oh, I see you. I see you. Now, has your mom come to you or sent you signs, or
Oh,
is
we've
that?
had some interesting things here. So, my mom, shortly after she passed, so this place is a 2,000 square foot manufactured home in a senior park, and it's beautiful. We're right on the park. We've got fir trees and all that. And the hub of it is she's got a full bar. You were talking about the couple, they like cocktails. She was
Yes.
at the helm of it for 26 years. Behind that bar, she has bar stools. The neighborhood would sometimes, years ago, 20 people would pop over. I mean, they'd just drop in and drinks. People would bring food, smoked salmon all day, and it was women. She called it her bar ministry. Women who lost their husbands or something happened, they'd come by and cry and have wine and talk. And one woman in the park years ago, her husband ran off with the park manager, and so she was coming and getting drunk and crying every day. And my mom's like, "Oh my God!" So anyway, it was a very special place, and so one of her friends that lives down the street, who is also in her late 80s, but this lady, she uses an iPad, an iPhone, she drives, she travels. This lady, now my mom never had a mobile phone, never sent a text in her life, never had nothing. But so this gal, Colleen, she says, she contacted me and said, I got a text from your mom. My mom's name is Donna Reed. And on her iPad popped up a message. Donna Reed says, hi. This was like 3 weeks after she passed away. Now, it couldn't have been, the reason I say this, it couldn't have been an old text that popped
Right.
up. She's never texted. So that happened. And then I told a family friend, James, about it. And he was like, oh, it didn't happen to you. So how do you really know? You can't really believe it. Who knows? She's older, Colleen. And I said, no, she would not make that up. It freaked her out.
Yeah.
So anyway, was very skeptical. So then I asked him, I was out of town. I was in LA and I said, hey, would you go into my house and turn on the heat? Because it was getting really cold. And he goes, yeah, sure. So he walks in. He calls me frantic and says, you won't believe this. I swear to God it's true. I swear to God it's true. I'm not making this up. And I said, what happened? And he came in and noticed that there's no lights on in here because I kept the lights off, except the porch light. And he walked around and saw the kitchen and walked through the kitchen, made sure everything was secure and turned on the heat. And then he walked back through the kitchen and the light was on above the stove, that where you press that button and that was on. He goes, it was not on, Marla. And it wouldn't have been on. Nobody uses that light. So he goes, I'm sure Donna Reed turned that on. He says, yeah, because see, you were saying it didn't happen to you, Marla. So she was showing you. And then a couple weeks, then I got back to LA and he came over and guess where I put her ashes? They're in a big, beautiful basket with roses and different things at the bar. So I've got it all decorated and you wouldn't know if you came in that's what it was.
Yeah.
So we went behind the bar for some reason and there was lights, we've got lights above it and all that. Oh, my crown chakra is activating right now. I can feel it. She's probably here. So anyway, I said, James, this is Donna Reed. And as I said her name and touched it, the lights went and went off. And we're like screaming and jumping around. And so then I text Colleen, the gal who got the text message, this woman, and I said, guess what? We got another message from Donna Reed. The light, and I explained it. She goes, oh, well, that was a power outage. It happened at my house too. And I was like, oh, what, and then I texted other neighbors and they said, yeah, the lights went out. But James said, he goes, no, but you cannot, the exact moment you said her name and touched it, it happened. So maybe she's that powerful that it went out.
Yes.
I don't know. So, and then I'm sitting, so 2 nights ago, my uncle, her brother, was over for dinner with his girlfriend and I'm sitting at my mom's head of the table, her chair at the dining room table, and we're talking. We'd already had dinner and stuff and cleared the table. And all of a sudden I feel something right under me. I hear something fell on the floor. And I looked down and there's a penny that just fell right on the floor. And where'd it come from? And I didn't have any pockets or any pennies. So that could have been her too. So
it's amazing that she is like, I'm here. I'm reminding you I'm here.
Well, and she knows that I would want that. And she was magical too. And when she first walked into this house, like 27 years ago to look around to buy it, the realtor brought her in. She walked in and she heard a voice say, welcome home. She heard that. So she was very clairaudient and she, so she heard things, stuff.
So she sort of introduced you to the world of mysticism.
I was always that way as a kid, loving this kind of stuff. And you can see the bats up on my wall. So it was funny because my uncle are also like 6 months ago or something, or before, like in the summer, he walked in and he's like, oh, you got your Halloween stuff up already? I said, no, those are my everyday bats, No, those aren't Halloween decorations. So when I was a little girl, I drew 2 things. I love to draw. I draw witches and bats. And it was the same witch. It was with the hat, with like this, with this scraggly hair. I had one template there that I knew how to do, and with bats next to her, and a cat. I drew tons of them. That's all I draw. I loved bats. I loved the witches. I loved the Halloween, the fall, the crunchy leaf. That's why I like being up here in Seattle. I don't want to miss a winter in Seattle. Like everybody's like, oh, you came back up here. It's cold. It's rainy. I'm like, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
That's what I'm here for, Okay, so but she always saw it, but my parents let me be me. Like I was trying everything. I was really, oh, and she said, you had so many imaginary friends. You'd be talking. I talked in my sleep. I talked other languages in my sleep. I slept walk. They thought I was possessed first because I would sit straight up in bed and start speaking in another language. And they didn't know what it was. And then as I got older, like I had a boyfriend I lived with, and he said, I had a lot of relationships, my first husband, and then this boyfriend and they both said, you speak some other language in your sleep. I don't know what that is. It could have been a bleed over from a past life. it could,
Yeah.
who knows? I'd love to. We didn't have cell phones back then to record. This is the, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But yeah, so but then I learned, she'd tell me some of her experiences as she got older, and it was pretty cool. And I wrote about it in my book, The Magic Seeker. I wrote about a lot of those things.